Anyway, something quite a bit lighter. John Miller's on the phone with me. John is director of the Cedar Hill Clay Court Tennis Society. I also have Penny Goldrick, who's an avid tennis player. She's in her 70s and would still like to play more tennis, but maybe needs a softer court to do things on. Hi, John. Sorry, I think we lost him. Oh, that's all right. Hi, Penny.
Hi.
Yeah, listen, you know what? John is in, we're going to retry him. John is in Hawaii.
Yeah, lucky John.
Yeah, no kidding. Eh? He's probably playing tennis in Hawaii.
He is.
Yeah,
That's what he told me yesterday. And surfing.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. But you know what, Penny? While I've got you here alone, geez, we shouldn't tell everybody. I have Penny alone here.
No, that sounds a bit suggestive. I better be careful. Christy Clark got herself in trouble.
Oh, we won't go there.
We won't go political, sorry.
No. Listen, Penny, how many years have you played tennis?
Well, let's do the math. I started when I was 13 in Ottawa on clay courts, and I've been playing ever since. I don't know that I'm any better than I was when I was 13, but I love the game, and so just actually to talk about clay courts, if that's okay, since that's the subject.
Sure, yeah.
In Ottawa, there were many clubs with clay courts. I then moved to Toronto at some stage, and the interesting thing about Toronto is they have numerous clay courts that are public-private clay courts, which I thought, and I played at them. I played at public courts that were private some of the time and public other times, and then I moved out west, about 10 years ago now, and couldn't believe that Victoria didn't have clay courts. And as everyone knows, for those of us who are getting older, and you did mention my age, which is fine, I'm quite proud of it, clay courts are the answer if we want to continue to play. Since coming out here, I've developed knee problems, both knees. I wear a brace. One of my legs is bone on bone, and the sports medicine specialist said, well, don't have an operation because then you won't be able to play singles, and I do like playing singles and doubles, and it just astonishes me that Victoria, where there are so many seniors playing tennis, that we haven't been able to get clay courts. I know people have tried in the past. I know people in the East who are thinking of coming out to live in Victoria, but they're reconsidering because there are no clay courts.
Yeah, because they play tennis, and that's and what's attractive to them, of course, is they can play tennis almost all year round, I guess, on any given day in Victoria. But
the other thing is, the injuries that one does get, it's so much easier on your body. If you're on a clay court, you can slide. It isn't as hard, naturally, as the other courts. And, I know so many people, not just my age, but younger ones who have knee injuries. So
sure.
You wear braces, and it's all because of the hard surface.
Okay, well, listen, stick with me here for a minute, because we've reconnected with John Miller, director of the Cedar Hill Clay Court Tennis Society. Hi, John.
Hi there.
Yeah, John, Penny is absolutely sure you've been playing tennis in Hawaii.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah. Listen, John, tell me about this move to try and get some clay courts. Background this for me.
Well, Penny spoke to how important it is to have clay courts just for injury prevention, not just people of her age, but any age, really. If you can imagine the difference between jogging or running on pavement compared to jogging or running on a chip trail.
I was just thinking about that. Yeah.
I think that would describe it best. Now, there are thousands of tennis players on Vancouver Island, and we actually do have several public tennis courts. We're lucky that way. Unfortunately, they're all hard courts. And another thing is, we have hard courts that are one court here, two courts here, maybe three courts here. They're dispersed. So we're the only city of our size in North America that doesn't have multiple courts, 8 courts or more, in a central place that could be a central gathering place for the tennis community. So that's really lacking. So that was one of the reasons we wanted to develop this. And then the other reason is clay. And I heard of half of what Penny said, and she's exactly right. And you touched on it a little bit, but a clay court, it needs watering. And in the shoulder seasons, especially in Victoria, we get lots of rain, and so we would be able to increase our playing time dramatically by having clay courts. You can play in a light rain, and you can play, almost immediately after even a heavier rain. So it just makes sense.
All right. Listen, you know what? I have to take a quick break, but when we come back, let's start talking about the moves that are being made to get some clay courts in Victoria, and all the hoops that you're going to have to jump through here to convince people and the powers that be and government, I guess, and funders and all that it would be necessary, or it is necessary, and it would be a good thing for Victoria. We're going to do that right after this news break with Kyle Reynolds. Welcome back, everyone. Kevin Rich sitting in for Pamela McCall this morning and for the next few days. Boy, did I ever set the newsroom up to fail there. I said we were going to do a news update. We will have a news update in about 9 minutes. But right now, my guests are John Miller, director with the Cedar Hill Clay Court Tennis Society, Penny Goldrick, an avid tennis player. We're talking about hard courts versus clay courts. So, John, where are we going with this? You have at least, well, I guess you're going to be going to the Parks and Trails Committee and Environmental Committee to talk about this soon?
Yes, we are. It's been about 18 months now since we started this group and started we approached Saanich with the idea, and we consulted with the staff and the local community association. In fact, all the community associations in Saanich. And it's been a long public engagement process, and we've refined our plan. Saanich hosted an open house in the fall. It was very, very well attended, and they also did an official survey to gauge public support. We are incredibly encouraged that 80% of the public supported our idea. So now we're moving on, and we are set to present our proposal to two advisory committees, Saanich advisory committees, one the Parks and Trails that you mentioned, and
right,
also an Environment Advisory Committee. And this is necessary before it moves on eventually to Council.
Yeah. Listen, okay, let's talk about, the one thing everybody's going to talk about at some point, and that is cost. Mm-hmm. What kind of costs are you looking at to establish, how many is it, maybe 8 courts?
Eight courts is really the minimum we could do, and we're looking at 8 courts with a adjacent pavilion, and the cost of that is going to be close to $1.5 million. And the Cedar Hill Clay Court Tennis Society will be putting up all the costs to build the facility, and then we will sell annual memberships. So anyone can access the facility, and it's roughly the price of what you'd pay for a Y membership, or the Cedar Hill has a squash club or a gym. So right in line with that, $500 to $600 a year, and you'd have unlimited play on the clay courts. And we'd use that money for the operational costs and also to pay back the loan to build the facility. Right.
Okay. So what you need from the municipality is location.
That's right, and Saanich has entered into partnership agreements with other user groups. The squash club at Cedar Hill, there's lacrosse pitches and soccer fields and community garden allotments. And so they've been doing this, I believe, for at least 20 years, where they enter into these partnership agreements where they provide the land or lease the land for a nominal fee, and in exchange they get some benefit. So our proposal is to pay for the entire cost of building it, and then we would give Saanich court time. So they could use that as they wish, for their public tennis programs for kids camps. They might have some free court time, but it would be up to them to choose how they wanted to use the court. So we think it's a real win-win, and we look forward to being in a partnership with Saanich.
Yeah, I hate that, the cliche sometimes, win, 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 but this is multiple wins here, it would seem so. Like. I mean, yeah. Do they have the inventory of property, like, to do this for you?
Yeah, right now, just behind the Cedar Hill Rec Center, where there's already squash and badminton and indoor tennis facilities, so it makes sense to have it there. There are 2 softball fields, and they aren't used very often, and it provides enough land for us to build this facility. And our architect has designed a site plan that allows for the 8 courts, but it's really in a park-like setting, beautiful landscaping, and large public pathways that go all the way throughout. So we actually think there'll be more non-tennis players, people from the public accessing these pathways and going back through that area. It's just down the hill from the golf course, and it's quite a beautiful area that isn't accessed as much as it should be.
Right.
Can I just interject here?
Yeah, sure, Penny. I was just, yeah.
No, it's just the aesthetics, the appearance of these courts, and as John said, the design is really lovely because it's got, as he said, the pathways with hedges. And I'm a dog walker, and, I've heard some people say, oh, well, we don't want courts there. I walk my dog. There'd be nothing nicer than walking through these courts, seeing people playing tennis and walking your dog. So to me, it's not limiting dog walkers' access. So yeah. I just wanted to put that pitch in.
Sure, no, that's good.
I appreciate that because we're actually going to be expanding and improving the public pathways back there, and also there's a flooding problem back there, so we'd be addressing that. So yeah, thanks, Penny, for pointing that out.
Yeah. But John, how big is a court? A single court?
Oh, I'm a tennis player. It's 120 feet. Oh, where's Simon on our team? He'd be able to tell you exactly.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's all right. But even 8 courts, I guess it doesn't take up that much space. 120 feet. Okay, well, we don't have the size of the court, but, maybe that's my problem. I should have done that research. Yeah, it just seems like I'm thinking about 8 courts. How big would that be? I mean, for instance, these softball fields you're talking about, would it take up the better part of one of these softball fields?
They're 2 small softball fields, and it would take up the better part of that. But they're not baseball fields; they're softball fields. So, I think people have driven past courts in their neighborhood, and sometimes there's 3 or 4. So, we'd be double that. But it'd take up a little bit more space, but not for the tennis courts, just because of the public pathways that go throughout and the landscaping that we're doing.
Yeah. And you said, I think you mentioned this before, but the model that you're looking at would basically fall in line with other partnership models that Saanich already has going.
Yeah, absolutely. The squash club at Cedar Hill, for instance, did exactly that.
Oh, okay.
That was almost 20 years ago. They leased the land for $1. They built the club, and they have members buy an annual membership. That's how they run the club, and they also provide court time for Saanich. And we looked extensively at that model. And, by and large, that's worked out really well for both entities. And we talked about if there are any ways improvements could be made. So our proposal looked at what predominantly really worked there, and then even tweaked it a little bit. So we think Saanich would benefit even more. Yeah,
would you have to put some kind of cap on the number of members?
Certainly, yeah, we would have to do that just because, to be fair to members, we want to ensure that they would have adequate court time. And I think it's going to work out really well for members because there's some industry standards of what the ratio is, members per court, and will be considerably lower than that standard. So everyone's going to get lots of playing time if this goes through.
Yeah.
John, one of the things we haven't mentioned in terms of the benefits of clay courts, I've talked about seniors like myself, but also I guess it's proven that clay courts are a great benefit for junior development. As an example, Milos Raonic went to Spain for 2 years as part of his training to play on clay courts, and I think that is a big feature for advancing clay courts in Victoria.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. All the best players and top juniors, they learn their game on clay, and it's
wow.
It hones their skills far more than a hard court.
Yeah, but in Victoria they have to leave town to do it.
Yes, that's absolutely right.
Yeah, which is really kind of sad, because it's well, number one, you want them here because it's good for the sport, and it's good to promote the sport. To be able to keep them here if they can practice here, if they can train here.
Yeah.
We think we'll have people moving to Victoria because of this facility. It would be a world-class facility, and we have some. This isn't an elite club; it's for members, but we do have some very promising juniors in town, and we honestly believe that within 10 years we'll have someone who grew up playing on these courts that is playing in the French Open at Roland Garros.
Yeah, that could absolutely be considered world class and in that category. Yeah. All right. And Penny, so if they get clay courts, I mean, you've suffered some injuries.
I'll be playing until I'm 100.
Yeah.
Well, just as an example, and this is not to brag, I've represented Canada over the last few years, because if you hang on long enough, there aren't that many competitive players. But anyway, I've played in Turkey and Austrian tournaments, and in the World Individual Tournaments, there was a 92-year-old playing. And that's because in Europe, they mostly play on clay courts. And just from a health point of view, it just makes such sense.
All right. Well, listen, thank you both for joining me here today. And listen, you know what? I should get this in. John, how can people show support for the moves you're trying to make here to get clay courts?
Well, of course, it's ultimately going to be a council decision, so I'd encourage everyone to contact their Saanich councillor and show their support that way. And you can also find more information about how to support us on our website, cedarhillclaytennis.net. We appropriately have the .net, cedarhillclaytennis.net.
Yeah, doesn't that work out nicely? So let me see, that's Cedar Hill Tennis.
Cedar Hill Clay Tennis.
cedarhillclaytennis.net.
Yes.
All right. Well, listen, the best of luck. I mean, it sounds like, as we say, is a win-win for everybody. So, yeah.
Thanks so much for the opportunity.
All right.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, and Penny, thank you for joining us, too.
Okay,
really appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. Have a great day.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Aloha from John. Wow. Aloha. I'd like to be able to say that.